The news begins in West Africa, where the Joint National Executive Council meeting of the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria have suspended the ongoing strike over the assault of the NLC President Joe Ajaero, among other pending issues. The strike was suspended following the intervention of the federal government through the Office of the National Security Advisor. The NEC meeting of the union, which commenced at a few minutes past 7 p.m. last night, lasted for close to 1 hour, during which various affiliates and state chapters reviewed the outcome of the meeting held between the leaders of the organized labor and Ribadu. The NSA had announced that the individuals responsible for the brutalization of Ajaero had been arrested. Okiki Adeniran, a legal practitioner and managing associate, Copley Partners, joins us to discuss this latest development. Good morning and thank you for joining me on the news.
Good morning and thank you for having me.
Now, what do you think about embarking on the industrial action over the assault of NLC President Joe Ajaero? Would you say it's justifiable, or should the organized labor leadership have rather initiated legal proceedings against those who were responsible for the assault?
Yeah, from the let's go from the beginning. Actually, the way the issue started was that there was an assault against Ajaero, the NLC president. Now, as a matter of fact, when there's an issue that way, the normal thing is for the assaulted person to approach the court, to approach the law, and seek for redress in court. As it is now, the NLC going on strike, embarking on strike, was, for me, was not the proper way legally to have gotten a redress. They embarked on strike, even at the fact that they were told, order of court was issued that they should not embark on the strike. They still went on the strike. The proper way should have been that they approach the courts and seek proper claims from the courts as regards what they want.
All right, well, there's an agreement here that it wasn't a proper way to seek a redress, but let's talk about this in the context of labor laws. What are the rights of the organized labor to protest against the alleged brutalization and also demand the implementation of agreements with the government?
Yes, as a citizen, we all have rights. And in fact, the NLC and the organized labor, they have the rights. They have the right to embark on strike, as a matter of fact. As it is, the Constitution gives a right of expression, right to freedom, and also to be a part of an association. As it is, it was to save the fact, it was good that they had to go on strike to demand not that they embark on strike because of brutalization, but to demand for certain clauses they had in agreement with the federal government. This issue has been laid to rest in cases, several cases. For example, permission to just read out in the case of Union Bank against Edet. The court said, and I quote, I'll just read verbatim from here. It says, "It appears that whenever an employee ignores or breaches a term of that agreement, results could not only be heard, if at all, to negotiate between the union and the labor and the employer, and ultimately to a strike action should need arise, it should be appropriate." What the court was actually saying in essence was that where there is an agreement, there was a negotiation between labor union and the federal government or a particular employer, it is right, for the employee or employees to go on strike, to show that they are not happy with the fact that the employers have not recognized the terms of the agreement. So it was okay. It's legally they can go on strike. As a matter of fact, based on what I said, Section 40 of the Constitution gives them the right to express themselves, to be part of an association, and this is going on strike is one of the things that can be done. In fact, an English case, let me just Lord Wright in an English case. I'll just read out also verbatim so that this can be put into context. It says that the right to strike is an essential element in the process of collective bargaining. So You know, when there's been a bargain, a negotiation, and the other party has refused to honor that agreement, you know, the employees have the right to go on strike, you know, to show their grievances.
All right, Okiki, let's now talk about, still talking about the terms of agreement. Now, you'd agree with me that this isn't the first time that the NLC has actually gone on strike, and but this particular one is quite peculiar. Now, how do you think the resolution of this particular case, or this specific case, will impact the relationship between the organized labor and also the government in terms of future negotiations and also future agreements?
Yes, I'm so sure that now that the government has seen that the organized union can take a bold step, now they won't take them for a play. They will take them serious in the sense that at any other time where there's a case such as this, they can, you know, by the time they inform the government that we'll go on strike, they will take them serious, and they will, you know, do what they're supposed to do, honor the terms of the agreement, and take proper steps.
All right, so there have been cases where, you know, when the NLC calls off its strike and decides to have a sit down with the government, the agreements are not, you know, followed through by the government. So what legal avenues are available to the organized labor if the government fails to fulfill the agreements made on October 2nd, 2023, that's even after the suspension of this particular strike?
Yes, there are a lot actually, and I'll just mention a few.
Please go ahead.
I'll just mention a few. Yes. So number one, they can decide to seek redress from court. It's an agreement. You can seek from the court that the court should order that the government go ahead, that they should go ahead with the terms of the contract. You know, it's specific. I can't remember what it is now. But you know, it can be the court can order the federal government to actually take necessary steps. And again, just like I mentioned, that you know, it has been said in decided cases, even English jurisdiction, that strike is not an offense. They can decide to go on strike. They can decide to, you know, embark on strike just to push home their grievances. And also, the last, you know, they can decide to go back to the table, to the drawing board, and renegotiate the contract. You know, just in case there's been issues with the government is actually finding it hard to, you know, honor the terms of the agreement, they can go back to the table, have another negotiation, and decide on the things to be done as they go forward.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining me on the news this morning to discuss this. Okiki Adeniran, legal practitioner and managing associate, Copley Partners, this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.